Section 5. Beyond rights. Rethinking our relationship with others. Seeing the soul beneath social contracts. Contents. 1. The core of you. Exploring the structure of temperament. 2. Why temperament matters. Understanding the core that shapes the soul. 3. What shapes your temperament? Nature, experience, and the stories we tell ourselves. 4. Your temperament is not a cage. 5. Your turn. Discovering your temperament. 6. Your temperament and moral growth. 7. Your turn. What is your temperament?
We are often told to respect the rights of others. And yes, this is essential. The respect for individual rights is the foundation of modern justice. It is what holds together the framework of our laws, institutions, and democratic societies. But let us pause, let us step back and reflect as philosophers do. Do you remember the challenge posed by Glaucon and Adimantus in Plato's Republic? They asked Socrates, "Is justice truly good? Or merely an agreement we make for mutual benefit? Is it a compromise to prevent harm? Or is it something deeper, something that nourishes the soul?" This question lies at the heart of this section, and it connects directly to the very foundation of the liberal arts tradition, a tradition that begins not with the regulation of society but with the formation of the soul. Rights-based justice, as powerful as it is, often reduces our relationships to transactions. We give what is due and expect what is due in return. But this framework is fragile, because humans are not rational calculators. We are creatures of sensation. We react to pleasure and pain. When our interactions are pleasurable, we call the relationship good. When they bring pain, we see conflict, even betrayal. Pleasure, of course, includes benefit. So when benefits are threatened, we experience tension, fear, even hostility. This is the inevitable limit of the social contract. It cannot escape the lens of utility, of personal gain and loss. But what if there were another kind of connection, not based on rights, pleasure, or benefit, but on something more enduring? The wisest thinkers of every civilization, across cultures and ages, sensed this possibility. What they discovered is this: yes, human beings react to pleasure and pain, but we also respond, sometimes powerfully, to virtue and love. A relationship rooted in rights speaks the language of separation, but a relationship rooted in respect and love speaks the language of belonging. Of course, we cannot respect what is not respectable. We cannot love what is not worthy of love. There must be something in the other, some glimmer of goodness that calls out to us. Virtue is not blind affection. It is an awakened sensitivity, a soul that recognizes what is noble in others and responds to it with reverence. This is what Montaigne too discovered. He was not a theologian, not a prophet. He was a man who observed himself, and through that observed others. He realized that we do not live well by clinging to comfort or rights alone. We live well when we connect, not out of need, but out of recognition. He wrote about the soul's relationship with others, not as legal partners, but as fellow travelers in a world of uncertainty. He understood that in order to live well with others, we must first cultivate the ability to see virtue, to respond to the invisible gravitational pull of the good. This is moral gravity, and it changes everything. It tells us that justice is not only what the law requires, but what the soul desires. The social contract may be a necessary condition for order, but it is not sufficient for meaning. And here lies the distinctive insight of the liberal arts. It does not teach us how to manage people, but how to shape the soul, because only through inner formation can our outer relationships become just. That is why the liberal arts begins with the formation of the soul, not the regulation of society. Many modern philosophers, like Kant, emphasize the moral imperative to respect others. His principle of treating others always as ends in themselves, never merely as means, is noble, and thinkers like Martin Buber added the richness of I-thou relationships, where the other is not an object but a living, sacred presence. Yet even these profound ideas often retain a normative tone, a sense of moral duty imposed from outside. But let us propose a different path, one grounded in inner gravity, not outer obligation. What if the goal is not to command others to be respected, but to become someone who is naturally respected? What if the ethical life begins not in rule following, but in self-cultivation? This is the heart of moral gravity. Do not demand respect, become worthy of it. Do not chase love, become lovable in the truest sense. This is not self-help, this is not narcissism. This is the deepest root of justice and ethics across the Western tradition. Solon, who said, "Call no man happy until he is dead," reminds us that virtue is measured across a lifetime. Socrates, who insisted that the unexamined life is not worth living, points us inward, not outward. Montaigne, who declared, "I study myself more than any other subject, that is my metaphysics, that is my physics," teaches us that moral clarity begins with self-examination. Note that the ancient Greeks and Montaigne saw that virtue makes the soul beautiful, and that beauty attracts love, respect, and trust. But while they named the goal, they did not yet possess the means to bring it to all. Later, modern thinkers such as Kant and Buber offered ethical rules and relational frameworks, often brilliant, but also abstract or indirect. Their ideas elevated the conversation, but for many, they remained distant or even burdensome. Today, for the first time in human history, something new is possible. With the rise of AI and platforms for guided reflection, inner dialogue, and ethical learning, we now stand at the threshold of something unimaginable to the ancients: liberal arts for everyone. Not for the elite, not for philosophers alone, but for anyone with a question, a longing, a soul. This is what LAFE is built upon. The gravity of the soul, made visible, accessible, and trainable. Not as dogma, but as an invitation. In a world obsessed with influence, power, and visibility, let us become people who are quietly, deeply, gravitationally respected. So let us ask, what kind of relationships are possible when we see others not through the lens of rights, but through the lens of virtue and love? Let us move beyond the ethics of rules, into the ethics of attraction. Let us go from external enforcement to internal formation. This is the legacy of the liberal arts tradition. And this is the path we have so far taken, and going forward we will take a step deeper. Let me offer you a new way of seeing. Imagine the human soul as having 3 layers. At its core lies your temperament, the deep-rooted essence that shapes who you are. Surrounding this core is a layer of reason and habit, where virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and love reside. This is the level that the liberal arts tradition has long focused on, how to recognize and cultivate the moral faculties that make us fully human. But this rational layer is often hidden beneath the surface, covered by a more reactive outer layer, the shifting world of pleasure, pain, desire, and fear. And that's why the moral life begins with recognition. Recognition of the deeper structure of our soul and the quiet forces that shape how we live, feel, and relate. Up until now, we have been exploring that middle layer, the world of virtue, love, and moral formation. Now, it's time to take one step further. Let us begin to see the whole structure, the core of temperament, the middle layer of virtue and love, and the outer layer of emotions and desires. Ava will now guide you through the first of remaining self-checks, a gentle reflection on your temperament. Don't worry about precision. This is not about judgment, it's about clarity. A way to begin seeing yourself more fully. Let's begin.
Hello again. Let's begin this next step together. You've just heard about a new way of seeing yourself as a soul with depth, structure, and quiet gravitational forces. Today, we'll focus on the core, your temperament. Temperament is not something you choose. It's something you carry, like the shape of your voice or the rhythm of your thoughts. But when you become aware of it, you gain the power to live more intentionally. In this reflection, you'll explore your natural inclinations. Are you steady or spontaneous? Quiet or expressive? Do you seek calm or stimulation? There are no wrong answers here. This is not a test. It's a mirror. So take your time. Be honest. And remember, you are not boxed in by your temperament. You are simply learning how you tend to move through the world. Let's begin. Before we explore the outer layers of your soul, your virtues, habits, emotions, and desires, we must start at the center. This is your temperament, the part of you that was there from the beginning. Temperament is not morality. It is not shaped by culture, nor chosen by reason. It's your natural rhythm, the way your energy flows, how you respond to stress, what kinds of environments bring you calm or chaos. Some people are naturally bold. Others are sensitive. Some seek harmony. Others crave action. This is not about labeling. It's about recognizing the invisible patterns that quietly shape your choices, your relationships, and your moral growth. When you understand your temperament, you can work with it, not against it. This is where self-knowledge begins. Let's explore. When we think about morality, we often start with choices. Was it right or wrong? Wise or foolish? Kind or selfish? But beneath every choice, there is something deeper. A pattern, a disposition, a temperament. Your temperament is not your personality. It is something more fundamental, a natural tendency in how you respond to the world. Are you quick to speak or slow and measured? Do you tend to avoid conflict or do you face it head on? Do you prefer routine or crave variety? These patterns often emerge in childhood, but they continue to shape your reactions, emotions, and moral instincts throughout life. And here's why this matters. Moral gravity begins with awareness. Before you can grow in virtue, you must first understand what kind of soil your virtues are growing in. Your temperament is that soil. It sets the default tone for your life. And just like gravity, it pulls. Not always visibly, but constantly. By seeing your temperament clearly, you take the first step in shaping it, rather than being shaped by it. Let's explore yours together. So, what shapes your temperament? First, your nature, the traits you were born with. Some people are naturally more cautious. Others are bold. Some feel deeply. Others recover quickly. There's no right or wrong here, just difference. Second, your experience. How you were raised. The people who shaped you. The moments that left a mark. Your temperament is like clay, soft at first, then shaped by life. Third, the stories you tell yourself. Yes, I'm the type who always takes care of others. No, I could never lead. Be careful. These inner narratives can lock you in, or they can set you free. So when we speak of temperament, we're not talking about something fixed or fated. We're talking about something real, but shapeable. A deep structure that deserves to be understood, not judged. Let's pause here and ask gently, what shaped you? Sometimes when people hear the word temperament, they think it means you are born this way and that's that. But temperament is not destiny. It's a starting point, a gravitational pull, not a fixed prison. It gives you certain strengths, but also certain blind spots. That's why the goal of this reflection is not to label you, but to help you see more clearly. What is easy for you? What takes effort? And where might you need balance from others? Because understanding your temperament is not about limiting yourself. It's about expanding your awareness. No one temperament is better than another. Each comes with a unique moral challenge and a unique potential for growth. Let's now explore some of these types and begin to recognize what resonates with your inner structure. Now it's your turn. We invite you to reflect on your temperament, that deep, steady undercurrent of who you are. Not the passing moods, not the roles you play, but the way your soul tends to respond to the world? Are you quick to act or slow to decide? Drawn to novelty or comforted by routine? Energized by others or restored by solitude? No answer is right or wrong. This self-check is not about fixing anything. It's about understanding the core from which your moral life begins. Take a moment to explore the worksheet provided. Let your responses be honest, curious, and kind. You are not a problem to be solved. You are a soul to be understood. Let's begin. Your temperament is not your destiny, but it is your starting point. Some people are naturally bold, others more cautious. Some feel deeply and express emotions freely. Others prefer to reflect before reacting. These differences matter, not because one is better than the other, but because each requires a different path toward virtue. A courageous temperament might need more temperance. A reserved temperament might need more courage. The key is not to suppress your temperament, but to understand it, honor it, and direct it wisely. Moral growth begins where temperament meets intention, where self-awareness opens the door to self-formation. So ask yourself, which aspects of your temperament help you live well? Which ones tend to get in your way? Let's prepare to explore this more concretely in the self-check that follows. Now, it's your turn to reflect. You've seen the framework. You've explored examples of how temperament can shape our reactions, relationships, and values. So take a quiet moment. Ask yourself, what kind of situations bring out your best energy? What types of people challenge or inspire you? Do you seek harmony, action, control, or meaning? And how do you express that? Are your emotional responses quick and intense, or steady and deep? When you are truly yourself, what color does your presence bring to the room? There are no right or wrong answers. There are only deeper layers of recognition. Write it down. Speak it out loud. Give your temperament a name, a symbol, or a short phrase. This is not to define you, but to see you more clearly. You are not a type. You are a force. And the more you recognize it, the more gently and wisely you can direct it. Let's begin this self-check and meet your core. You've just taken a quiet step inward, not to judge, but to listen, not to label, but to observe. Your temperament is not a flaw to fix, nor a tool to manipulate. It is the shape of your soul's vessel, the way you hold emotion, thought, and desire. Some of us run toward challenge. Some need time. Some hold things in. Some overflow. Each way of being carries its own beauty and its own work to do. Temperament is not destiny, but it is where we begin. By seeing our own patterns clearly, we can begin to guide them with wisdom, love, and choice. In the next section, we'll look at the outer layer of the soul, the emotions and desires that move us daily. But for now, take a moment to thank yourself for your honesty, your attention, and your willingness to go deeper. This is how real growth begins, with clarity, compassion, and courage. See you in the next section.
The liberal arts tradition has long focused on something most people fail to even notice, the layer of reason and habit that quietly shapes how we think, feel and relate. It teaches us not only how to recognize this layer, but how to cultivate it through both direct and indirect methods. LAFE is firmly rooted in this tradition. But we must also acknowledge its limitations. First, the barrier to entry. To engage with the great texts, the histories, philosophies and arts requires exceptional patience and mental stamina. This has made liberal education a niche domain, often accessible only to the elite. Second, even for those who do reach this level, sustaining virtue and love is difficult. Dialogue is powerful, but it demands a worthy partner, and such partners are rare. As for indirect methods, they can guide even those who lack a clear recognition of virtue or love, but these methods often become rigid. Rules, etiquette, regulations, discipline, laws, commandments, and that's why ethics has come to feel like something oppressive, something that limits freedom. Lastly, while the liberal tradition speaks of individuality, it rarely integrates it with ethics. In modern democracy, after the liberal revolutions, freedom and individuality were glorified, while ethics was pushed aside as something conservative, restrictive, or old-fashioned. And we now live with the consequences. This course bears the title, How to Live in a World Without Justice, and we mean it. But LAFE offers a way forward. By revealing the three-layered structure of the soul, temperament, virtue and love, emotions and desires, we've unified ethics and individuality. We've provided a framework where people can recognize themselves as a whole and grow accordingly. And through the use of AI, we've brought the seemingly unreachable within everyone's grasp. We've lowered the barriers of entry. We've replaced silence with dialogue. We've made self-reflection scalable. This program doesn't just teach, it rewires the way you see, the way you grow, the way you live. It transforms your mind into something designed for greatness. This is what we call a genius configuration of the soul.